After I was scammed, I transferred all the company's money to the scammer. I did it on purpose. I just want to let the capitalists know that if they push me to the limit, I will trade my life for yours. I will take my poor life in exchange for the destruction of your rich family. Ever since my family encountered difficulties, I never asked the company to help me through the difficulties, but the company began to exploit me. My boss always makes me work overtime without any conditions, doesn't give me any overtime pay, and even deducts my salary for no reason. Whenever I go to my boss to argue, he says the overall business environment is not good recently and asks me to help the company through the difficult times. But I am almost suffocated by life. I ask my boss to give me the overtime pay I deserve. If he doesn't, I will apply for labor arbitration. But I won't, because I have studied the FA. As a proletarian, as long as I dare to pay the cost of breaking the law, the capitalists are nothing in front of me. When the cost of committing a crime is far lower than the benefits of committing a crime, many people are willing to commit a crime. I would rather use my life to destroy the family of this black-hearted boss. To put it bluntly, even if I spit in the face of a big customer of the company, at most I would lose a job, but the company would lose a huge amount of money. I can always stab the capitalists. This is an opportunity. If I transfer the company's money to the scammers, our boss will be doomed. But I hesitated, because I was still wondering what this black-hearted boss was. He came to my table and asked me seriously, "Is the compensation ready?" I know what he is talking about. Our company's old equipment has problems, and the workers are afraid to use it. There happened to be a worker whose mother was seriously ill. In order to earn money for his mother's medical expenses, he gritted his teeth and went to work. As a result, the machine had an accident and he died on the spot. I said that the compensation of 2 million yuan was ready. The boss said, "Don't pay the compensation. Call the customer, Mr. Wang, first." I said in astonishment, "If I call the client, what will happen to the worker's mother? The hospital is still waiting for the money to save her life." The boss said, "Are you stupid?" I checked the man's family background, sorted out the documents, and waited for the boss to enter the office. I sent a reply to the fraudulent text message. I said, "Is that Mr. Wang?" Mr. Wang is our company's largest customer and controls almost all of our company's lifeblood. The scammer quickly responded to me. Yes, I changed my card number. As a financial officer, I gave the boss a Porsche, the boss wife an LV bag, and their child to an elite school without the boss's signature. After tonight, nothing will exist anymore, especially since half of the 14 million yuan was privately borrowed. The boss's fate was doomed to be the ruin of his family. I arrived at the conference room, and everyone was already seated. As the meeting started, the boss glanced at us and said coldly, "You all look listless in this meeting. It seems that I am too nice to you." I sighed, wondering why so many capitalists like to say this kind of nonsense. Our boss always makes us work overtime without pay and deducts our wages whenever he gets the chance. What's so good about him? I noticed that the boss lady and the little daughter were also there, and I immediately realized that this meeting was not simple. If the boss is an old beast, then the little daughter is definitely a little beast. She is attending an aristocratic school, and in order to increase the rate of admission, these schools will waive tuition fees for top students. There was a female classmate from a poor family in her class who got books by paying free tuition because of her good grades. Just because she was jealous that someone was better than her, the little girl slapped the girl in the school toilet, stripped her clothes, took photos, and posted them on the campus network. In the end, her family easily settled such a bad bullying behavior with money, and she only received a light school punishment. The supervisor coughed and said, "Boss, I want to mention this to you during the meeting." The boss nodded and said, "I have investigated this. The accident probability of old equipment is about 1 in 10,000. The worker died before, and the company paid 2 million in compensation. In other words, 20 million is enough to cause 10 accidents." He smiled, winked at his daughter, and joked, "If we had survived 10 accidents, our company would have gone public long ago. Dad will be there soon. It's time to give my little princess a Bentley and have it covered in diamonds." The little girl chuckled and said, "Daddy is still good at settling accounts." I felt chilled as I watched the banter between them. The worker's mother lost her son and lay in the hospital, waiting for her own compensation to save her life. However, these capitalists made fun of this matter and laughed their heads off. The boss lady said, "Don't mention upgrading the equipment anymore. The company can afford it. We now have more than 10 million in liquid funds." I sneered in my heart. "No, you don't have any funds left." When the boss's daughter personally operates the machinery, the workers will immediately calm down. In an instant, the conference room became quiet, as if you could hear a pin drop. People looked at me in amazement, and the boss also opened his mouth wide, as if he didn't expect me to say such a thing. He directly picked up the mineral water bottle next to him and threw it at me. "If you can't speak, just shut up. Can my daughter go to the workshop?" The little girl also frowned. "Have you ever thought about what would happen if I died? Don't take it too seriously." I said calmly, "Then let's vote." I proposed that the boss's daughter go to the workshop to encourage the workers. This plan was originally proposed by her. The boss lady was so angry that she slammed the table and yelled at me. "You are talking nonsense. If you lose limbs, my family can afford to pay for it. If my daughter gets into an accident, who among you can afford it?" I glanced at the proprietress. What she didn't know was that before the meeting was over, the debt collector would. In the meeting room, my colleagues dared not breathe. They probably thought I was crazy. My boss also had a sullen face. He thought I was unhappy about the delayed salary, so he said coldly, "If you are in a meeting with emotion, you can get out now." I sighed and said, "This is not an emotional issue, it's a human issue." I stood up and walked up to the little girl. I looked down into her eyes and asked her, "What were you laughing at just now?" She was stunned. Seeing that she didn't answer, I continued, "A worker died. What are you laughing at? You said that people are different from each other. What is the difference between you and us?" The boss was furious. He slammed the table and pointed at my nose and cursed. "Shut up. Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you question my daughter?" I nodded. "You're right. The little beast has no good upbringing. It's all the old beast's fault. I should question you." The boss sneered and said, "It seems like you really don't want to do this anymore." "Yes, I don't want to do this anymore. As a financial officer, I don't want to do this job anymore from the moment you ordered me to delay paying the workers' death compensation. Then get out now." A3 when they saw that I didn't speak, they thought I was scared. The boss sneered and said, "Now that you're a coward, just bow down and apologize to my daughter honestly, and I can consider letting you continue to work here." The little daughter immediately raised her head proudly. The proprietress also glanced at me with a sneer on her face. The little girl said calmly, "My father is relatively merciful. If I were your boss, it wouldn't be as simple as sending you to jail. I know some tough guys out there." She stood up, leaned close to my ear, and whispered, "You know what? Ask for 100,000 yuan, and someone will chop off your hand. People are different from each other." My chest. "I don't want you to bow. I want you to kneel down and apologize." I hesitated for a few seconds and finally knelt down. It's not that I gave up my dignity. I just deliberately provoked them. Because there is a surveillance camera in the conference room, recording every move in the conference room at all times. When it comes to court, the black-hearted boss abuses the workers and forces them to. Kneeling, not to mention the public opinion it would stir up, this kind of thing itself would make the court sympathize with me to a great extent. The 3 incidents of withholding death compensation, withholding wages, and forcing employees to kneel were all recorded in full on the surveillance camera. When the little girl saw me kneeling down, she smiled proudly. She shook her head and said, "Thank you. You let me see the most humble appearance of an adult. When I graduate, I will try my best not to be an adult like you. Now apologize to me and be sincere." I said sincerely, "I'm sorry." The corners of her mouth rose proudly again, but I interrupted her. I continued, "So can you go to the workshop for internship now?" In an instant, the little girl's expression changed. She raised her hand and slapped me hard on the face. The loud slap made my face burn. I never thought that she would hit me. Is she so eager to give herself up? I covered my face and looked at the little girl in shock, and she pointed at my nose and yelled, "I'm different from you. My life is worth a lot." At this moment, the faces of my colleagues all turned ugly. I said in surprise, "How are you valuable? The only thing you have in this life is that you crawled out of your mother's belly. Is reincarnation a skill? I'll tear your mouth apart." The little girl was furious. She seemed to take something out of her school bag, then rushed up and grabbed my hair. Before I could react, she stuffed the thing into my mouth. I instinctively wanted to close my mouth, but a sharp pain came from my lips, making it so painful that I couldn't close my mouth at all. Soon, something cold and stinging was stuffed into my mouth, and I reacted immediately. It's a thumbtack. A bunch of thumbtacks were stuffed into my mouth. The little girl covered my mouth and slapped me hard. She was so angry that she broke my heart. She yelled, "Who do you think you are? You poor bastard dare to teach me a lesson." The thumbtack pierced my lips and tongue, especially when she was slapping me. After the slap, I spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at the bloodstains on the ground in horror. At this time, the boss lady also rushed over. "Damn him, he has been bullying me." I half knelt on the ground in so much pain, and the blood from my mouth kept dripping onto my hands. It was horrifying to watch. I raised my head and looked at the angry little girl. She seemed to have suffered a great injustice and was so angry that she was shaking all over. I endured the pain and said weakly through my half-sewn mouth, "I still suggest that you go to the workshop." The little girl was completely furious and rushed towards me again. This time, the boss quickly stood between us. I know the boss is not doing this for me. He is worried that if things continue to get worse, it will be bad for his family. At this time, colleagues also rushed to stop the fight. Some of them pulled the boss's wife, and some pulled the young daughter. The boss asked them all to leave first. Only the boss and I were left in the meeting room. He helped me up, looked at my face, took a deep breath and said, "Okay, you are cruel enough. Go home. I will pay you your salary and compensate you 20,000 yuan. But you are not allowed to tell anyone about what happened today, and you are not allowed to call the police. Then pull out the thumbtack." Several vans were parked downstairs. I saw a group of idle people walking into the gate of our company. The leader was the boss's creditor. I expected the creditor to know the situation so quickly. First, he borrowed money to buy shares, so he could also check our company's accounts. Second, the reason why he lent money to our boss was because he had a very good relationship with General Manager Wang. He was the matchmaker between our company and General Manager Wang, making money from both ends. Seeing such a large expenditure in the company's account, he was sure to get dividends from Mr. Wang. So he would be the first person to know that Mr. Wang did not receive the money. Then, he would definitely call our boss to ask, but as a creditor and shareholder, the money in the company's account is gone, the client hasn't received the money, and the debtor's phone number is unreachable. How could he not be anxious? If the little daughter is a cruel little beast, then the creditor can make people know what hell is. I said casually, "Boss, I'm not trying to blackmail you. I just want to see where the nails are so I can take them down. I feel really bad right now. Can I lie down on the sofa in your office for a while?" He said impatiently, "Don't make my sofa dirty. I'll talk to you after the meeting." I covered my mouth and walked out of the meeting room. The little princess glared at me fiercely. She pointed at me and sneered, "Don't ever appear in my sight again, or I will make you live a life worse than death." I lowered my head and walked into the office dejectedly. Finally, I couldn't help laughing out loud. Although my mouth hurt, I couldn't help laughing. I went into the office for two reasons. First, the hard drive of the surveillance video is in the boss's computer. Second, the office door can be locked to protect my safety. I locked the door. The office has a glass door, and they can all see me. The boss lady was still cursing outside. If it weren't for the strict inspection now, I would have found some big brother in society to kill you a few years ago. You are really not afraid of death by talking so dirty. I did not respond to their threats. Instead, I waited until everyone returned to the meeting room, took out my cell phone, and secretly called the police. Of course, I knew that if I called the police, they would definitely stop the debtor from taking action. But the prerequisite is that I have to survive. Besides, with the creditor's ability, even if he fails today, the boss and his family will not be able to escape in the future. The operator's voice soon rang out on the other end of the line. Hello, this is the police station. How can I help you? I quickly said, Hello, I want to call the police. I was beaten and I'm covered in blood. Can you help me get an ambulance? What's your address? I gave the operator my company address and then took control of my boss's computer. The boss's computer has a password, but the problem is that he hasn't turned off his computer since he got off work. I copied the surveillance video, posted it on my Moments and the internet, and even paid for some attention. Perhaps because of the farce just now, they held the meeting very quickly this time. After they came out of the meeting room, the little girl put on her school bag, pointed at me, and said viciously, Don't let me see you again. After the little daughter made the harsh remarks, she walked to the door and was about to open it when something unexpected happened. With a bang, the door was kicked open. The little girl flew backwards like a kite with a broken string and fell heavily to the ground. She screamed in pain, and the proprietress screamed in fear, then shouted angrily, Who opened the door? Are you looking for death? The creditor walked in with his men, and instantly the expression on the proprietress's face froze. I sneered at the sight. This skill of changing face really perfectly demonstrates the character of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. The lady boss didn't know she was in big trouble yet. She complained, Brother, why didn't you pay attention when you opened the door? You bumped into my daughter. The creditor yelled, I'm paying attention to your uncle. He walked up a few steps, raised his hand, and slapped the proprietress hard in the face. The creditor was a burly man, and the proprietress was beaten so hard that she turned half a circle on the spot and fell to the ground. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. The boss quickly ran out of the meeting room and said anxiously, Brother, what's going on? Let's talk it over, don't do it. The creditor gnashed his teeth and asked, Who did you transfer the money in the company account to? The boss was stunned for a moment. What money? Don't play dumb with me. The creditor grabbed the boss' neck and yelled, I've checked at the bank and found that you transferred the money to an overseas account. You bastard, you want to run away, right? The boss was like a chicken waiting to be slaughtered, with no power to fight back. He fluttered a few times and said anxiously, Brother, this is not true. The little girl was also scared and said tremblingly, Uncle, you let my dad go. Now we live in a society ruled by law. Let's sit down and talk slowly. She no longer has the arrogant and domineering look she had at the beginning. In front of people who are stronger than her, she is as docile as a sheep. The creditor didn't listen to the little girl, but threw the boss to the ground. The boss tried to get up, but the creditor raised his foot and stepped on his face, saying coldly, Just half an hour ago, all the money in the company was transferred out. Give me a reasonable explanation. The boss said anxiously, I don't know. I have no idea at all. Wait a minute. He seemed to remember something, looked at me hurriedly, and yelled at me. Did you touch the money in the company account? I know it's time to show off my acting skills. I hid in the office and said in horror, I was doing everything legally. What is the normal operation? I transferred $14 million to Mr. Wong's account. Didn't you ask me to transfer the money to Mr. Wong? The creditor was so angry that he yelled, Don't play tricks on me. I called Mr. Wong, and he didn't receive the money at all. Let's go to the bank and check the bank statements together. I was surprised and said, That's impossible. I definitely transferred the money to his new account. Suddenly, everyone was stunned. The boss asked, What new account? I picked up my phone, pulled up the scam text message, and showed it to them through the glass. The whole company was silent. The little girl was so angry that she picked up the vase next to her and threw it at me. The vase hit the glass door and broke, but the glass door was fine because it was tempered glass. The creditor said impatiently, Don't act like a monkey here. I just want to get my money. If you have time to act like a monkey, you might as well pay me back as soon as possible. The little girl cried and said, Uncle, I didn't act. and my family's money was really ruined by him. We have no money left. I opened my eyes wide, my body tensed, and my hands kept shaking. I swallowed and said tremblingly, "How? How is it possible?" The boss looked ashen, and he said blankly, "Don't you want my signature before you transfer the money?" The creditor said coldly, "What do you mean by our money?" The little girl held a hammer and smashed the glass hysterically, yelling at me, "I want your life. You have ruined my family, you idiot. I should kill you." The little girl finally couldn't suppress her anger anymore and hit me hard on the head with a hammer. I just felt my eyes go dark and the world is spinning. I fell to the ground. But to my relief, before I passed out, I clearly heard a shout, "Stop! Police!" When I woke up again, I was already in the hospital, with my colleagues by my side and everyone visiting me. They told me that the company had lost all its working capital and had simply ceased operations. I took 200,000 yuan, paid 100,000 yuan in compensation, and made a profit of 100,000 yuan. This is a lot of money, and it even solved the problems in my family. When I was discharged from the hospital, I went to the company to collect my salary. Everybody came, and everybody was staring at the boss lady and Xiao Qianjin as they paid their wages. It was said that they were captured from the rental house by everybody, and originally they didn't even want to pay their wages, they just wanted to run away. Both the little daughter and the proprietress no longer had their domineering attitude, especially the little daughter. She sat next to the proprietress and kept wiping away her tears. When it was my turn to collect my salary, the little girl kept glaring at me. I signed and said with a smile, "What are you looking at? Do you have the right to look at me?" She was stunned. Then she subconsciously grabbed my clothes and asked me angrily, "What did you say?" I said, "Don't grab my clothes. You can't afford to pay for them if they get damaged. People go to check in."